Vishnupada Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Narayana Sai Maharaj Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Bhagavat Śrīla Gurudeva Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Shri Baladeva Prabhu ki jai. Baladeva Purnima ki jai. Baladeva Abhirbhav Titi Mahotsav ki jai. Shri Jhulan Yatra ki jai. Shri Chaturmasa Dvitiya Mas ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Let me just make this full screen. Alright. Dandavat Pranams Gagaraji, Raseshwari Mataji, Madhavi Didi, Ganga Didi, Pradyumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. Dandavat Pranams to all of you. So, today we're going to read first about Baladeva Prabhu, and then we'll begin our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading. But let's just start with the Mangalacharya now. Hey, where did it go? Oh, shoot. Thought I opened it up. Maybe I didn't. One second, guys. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putre Pitanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shrinvatang Svakata Krishna
punya shravana kirtana hridantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suritsatam nashta prayeshvavadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptashtakamatitaranka madhe kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. Actually, what's Baladeva Prabhu's pranam mantra? I don't know that by heart. Let's see if I can find that. Baladeva. Oops. Yeah. Pranam mantra. Anyhow. Whatever. All right, so okay, here's pranam mantra from Garga Samhita. Spura damala kiritim. There's no diacritics, dang it. Anyways, let's see. Spura damala kiritam kinkini kankanarham chalarala kakapolam kundala shri mukhabjam Tuhinagiri manogyam nilamegham paradhyam halamushala vishalam kamapalam samidhe. Garga Samhita. I praise the fulfiller of desires, Sri Balaram. He carries a grand plow and club. He wears a shining, spotless crown, tinkling bells, and jeweled ornaments. His handsome lotus face is ornamented with earrings. Curling locks decorate his cheeks. His complexion resembles a beautiful snow-capped mountain, and he is adorned with garments the color of dark blue clouds. All right. There's an explanation here, but anyways, let's continue on. So right now I'm just gonna read one Rup Manjari just sent another one. Oh god, it's really small here though, but should I make it bigger? Okay, let's make it bigger. Where is that from though? Rup Manjari? Where is that pranam mantra from? If you could let us know, that would be helpful. Okay, that's big enough to see now. But yeah, I'd like to know where it's from. I always like to know what I'm saying comes from. Okay, this is also from Garga Samhita. Cool, okay. So, Namaste halagraha, namaste mushalayudha, namaste revati-kanta, namaste bhaktavatsala, namaste dharani-dhara, namaste balanam shrestha, pralambare namastestu, ehi mam Krishna purvaja. Jai, Baladeva Prabhu ki jai. Okay, so this class that I'm reading from, it was spoken by my Śrīla Gurudeva in Vrindavan, August 15th, 2000. You know the pastime of Sri Baladev's killing Ramaharshan Sutta, but do you know why he did it? The fact is that this Ramaharshan Sutta never honored any devotees. He thought, I am the supreme of all. I am Guru of all the 88,000 rishis assembled here. There were thousands of devotees present who were superior to him, but he never gave any respect to them. You know that, one second. Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right. You know that Baladev knows all things, and so he realized this. He at once came to test him. As Ramaharshan Sutta was accustomed not to honor any Vaishnava, thinking himself superior to all, when Baladeva Prabhu arrived, he also did not honor him. He could not stand up from his position and do pranams. If anyone is like this, he is neither qualified to tell Harikatha, nor is he qualified to hear Harikatha. Baladeva Prabhu at once cut him. He said, Nonsense! You don't want to respect any of the devotees, and you think you are superior to them because you are telling Harikatha and they are hearing. He had never offered pranam to his audience. Quite opposite to this, Prabhupada Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to offer pranam to his entire audience. Feeling that they were prominent, he would tell them, if you are not here, I cannot tell Harikatha to anyone. You are like my Vipad Udharan Bandhu. You are my friends who are saving me from great danger. If anyone explaining Harikatha thinks, none of them know anything. What is this? It is an offense. Although someone may not be speaking Harikatha, still he may be as qualified as Srila Haridas Thakur or Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji. He may be lakhs times superior to the person telling Harikatha. Those who are tasting Vaishnav Seva, Harinam, and hearing Harikatha, they have more sukriti than anyone. Sometimes we neglect this, but we should try not to. Baladeva Prabhu also killed Dvida Bandhar, the gorilla, in Dwarka. Dvida Bandhar was present at the time of Ram. Bandhar actually means monkey, but I guess gorilla, monkey, same thing. He had served him so much, and he had helped him to fight against Ravan. However, he had never given honor to Lakshman. He was thinking, what has Lakshman done? Nothing. He did not understand that Lakshmanji was always serving Ram, and in fact, he was Ram himself. Dvida lived for so long that he was also present at the time of Krishna. However, because he had the bad association of Bhaumasura, Maya Danava, Kala Yavana, Jarasandha, and all other demons, he became more and more stupid. He began to see everywhere in all devotees some loophole, some fault, and he used to criticize him. And again, he was finding a loophole in Lakshman, and who was now in the form of Baladeva Prabhu. He became naked and began to show off his body to the young women with whom Baladeva was enjoying pastimes. In that condition, he began to criticize Baladeva. He said, how can you respect Balaram? Balaram is a lampat, a very lusty person. He has Revati as his wife, and he is so much attached to her. Anyone can be like this if he has the association of those who criticize Vaishnavas. Such a person will have no eyes to see the qualities of Vaishnavas. Even a Kanishta is superior to him. One should try to be very humble with all, and especially one should not see faults or loopholes in any Vaishnavas. If we start finding faults in Vaishnavas, then we will come to a state like Dravida gorilla. We will also start finding fault in our Guru, and also in Akhanda Guru Tattva, that is Balaram or Nityananda Prabhu. Even those who were killed by Baladeva Prabhu, like Dravida Bandar and Ramaharshan Sutta, were fortunate. We are even worse than Dravida and Ramaharshan Sutta, because we don't have this opportunity to be killed by Baladev. We are not so fortunate, and we are still cultivating so many aparads. What does Baladeva Prabhu do? He plows. What does he plow? He cultivates. In Vraj, God, there's so many words that are just... anyways. In Vraj, he cultivates the fields of the eternal living entities, the jivas. He is preparing them or producing them. He is creating or manifesting the Santini Shakti. Then in Vaikuntha, in the form of Mahasankarshan, Baladev Prabhu is cultivating the field of the eternal associates of Vaikuntha-pati, Vaikuntha-adipati, meaning Narayan. As Karnadakshay Vishnu, Baladev Prabhu is he's creating all the Tatashta Shakti living entities, those who are fit to go both to the spiritual abode and to the material abode. Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. The word actually consists of 3 words, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Krishna himself is considered to be the predominating deity of Chit. Chit means Gyan, which, when condensed or intensified, converts into Bhav, and this Bhav goes up to the stage of Mahabhav. Baladev Prabhu is the predominating deity of Sat. Sat means existence, and all existence comes from Baladev Prabhu. Even the existence of Krishna's body is due to Balaram. Radharani is the predominating deity of Ananda, and all these 3 are together, Sat, Chit, and Ananda in Krishna. Although all these 3 are in Krishna together, they are also separate. This is Krishna's inconceivable potency. Each and every potency of Krishna can take a separate form. His drishti, his sight, also becomes personified. His capacity to see is his potency, and it can also take a form. In our case, this potency is invisible, but in Krishna's case, the same potency can take a form. Drishti, the potency to see, can also become personified. This is true also in the case of Radharani. Her Rup is Rup Manjari, and her sight is Nayana Mani Manjari. In this way, although Satchidananda potencies are in Krishna, when they take forms, they become Balaram and Radharani. As Ananga Manjari, Balaram serves Radharani in the conjugal mellow. In Radha Kunj, the central and most important kunj is Swananda Sukara Kunj. This kunj belongs to Ananga Manjari, and in this kunj, she always arranges nice paraphernalia for the pastimes of Radha Krishna. In Ram Lila, this same Baladev was Lakshman, where he was forced to perform many types of pastimes that he did not wish to perform. At that time, he was the younger brother, and he could not say anything to his elder brother. He had to perform one fire test for Sita, and he had to banish her. In Gaur Lila, he came back as Lord Nityananda, the older brother, not younger brother, and he broke the Ekadanda of Mahaprabhu. Sometimes Baladev Prabhu appears black. Why? When he came from Dwarka and he found the gopis so much absorbed in Krishna, then he also began feeling separation from Krishna. He also felt separation from Krishna, absorbed himself in Krishna, and became black. Respect all the Vaishnavas and develop your tendency to serve. Try to serve each and every Vaishnava. Cultivate this taste of serving. Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj had engaged some of his disciples in cultivating the seeds of eggplants. Why? Because they were not fit to continue chanting throughout the entire day. They had wanted to learn so much from him, but upon accepting them as disciples, he asked them to cultivate a field of eggplants. When Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went there, they complained, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is so close to you. Please ask him something for us. We have left our homes to learn something about Krishna consciousness and chanting and Hari Katha. Instead of giving us Hari Katha, he is asking us to do this field cultivation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur felt their pulse and replied, he has done correctly. This is your bhakti. This is your Krishna consciousness cultivation. Because all of us are not fit to continue chanting all day, we require to work, and we should serve according to the instructions given by Vaishnavas and Gurudev. Today is also Raksha Bandhan. We bind Rakhi, a very fancy cloth bracelet, to Krishna. Earlier, this festival was practiced differently from today. We bind Rakhi to Krishna or to Balaram, so that they will protect us. They are our real protectors. Anantadev is our real protector. This was the purpose of this festival. During the reign of one Mohammedan leader, the Mohammedans were inflicting so much atrocity on the Indian women. Many Indian women accepted powerful kings as their protectors. They sent their Rakhi to them and said, please bind this Rakhi and protect us. Since that time, this festival has taken place, that a sister will bind a Rakhi around the wrist of a brother who will protect her. The protector, however, is not, in fact, a brother. The protector is actually Balaram. We can also take Gurudev as our protector from unwanted activities and mentalities, aparads, etc. We can bind this Rakhi to Gurudev, and we should also have this belief in our hearts that in order to serve our Gurudev, we can kill the whole world. It is not that you go and start killing the whole world, but this must be the emotion and feeling in your heart. Whoever does not have Guru Nishta cannot progress. This does not mean that because I'm your Guru, I am asking and persuading you to serve me. But this is what I am seeing from our Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada used to say about Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj, when I approached him to take initiation, he refused me. He made a pretext that I had so much knowledge, but in fact he was saying, you are so much proud of being learned. So he wanted to break my pride, and he refused to give me initiation. My whole pride was collapsed, and I began to fast. I vowed that I will die now. I will die. Then he gave me initiation. Similarly, my Gurudev served Prabhupada so earnestly. In one night, he changed a graveyard into a garden. Whenever he used to talk about his Gurudev, he could not utter the words, Srila Prabhupada, and he used to weep bitterly. We see that this does not take place in our case. He was so much dedicated to his Gurudev. If someone is criticizing one's Gurudev and the disciple remains quiet, then he is not more than an impotent eunuch. When our Gurudev started Rath Yatra in Navadvip, no one criticized him. When he left this world, however, a very highly advanced devotee spoke something against Rath Yatra in Navadvip. The day I heard it, I could not sleep at night. I was restless and so much agitated. Soon after that, I wrote an article in our magazine, and that article created chaos, havoc, and very great agitation on the other side. Hence there was a fight, and that fight lasted for an entire year. If we do not do these things, we are not doing Manobhrishta Seva, service to the inner heart's desire of Sri Gurudev. We should establish our Gurudev's principles, and when any opposition comes, we should defeat it. All right, so man, I want to read more, but I'm going to have to stop for now because we need to begin our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading. But maybe later on today, if there's time, I'll read, but I'm not guaranteeing it. But yeah, maybe we can read more. I should read more. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so at in 12 and a half hours again. Maybe we can read. All right. Now we'll begin Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Let me just open it up. I wanted to start Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam today because today is such an auspicious day to do it. Baladeva Prabhu's mercy that we will, our reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will be successful, that we'll do it in the right way, the right mood. Okay, so just reading a little bit, only the first 6 verses today. So, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1. What is it? The Shashta Skanda? I think that's how you say it. Shashta. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Shashta Skanda Ki Jai. Chapter 1. The History of the Life of Ajāmila. Throughout Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are many descriptions of 10 subject matters, including creation, subsequent creation, and the planetary systems. Shukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, has already described creation, subsequent creation, and the planetary systems in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th cantos. Now, in the 6th canto, which consists of 19 chapters, he will describe Poshan, or protection by the Lord. This first chapter relates the history of Ajāmila, who was considered a greatly sinful man. But he was liberated when 4 order carriers of Vishnu came to rescue him from the hands of the order carriers of Yamaraj. A full description of how he was liberated, having been relieved of the reactions of his sinful life, is given in this chapter. Sinful activities are painful both in this life and in the next. We should know for certain that the cause of all painful life is sinful action. On the path of fruit of work, one certainly commits sinful activities, and therefore, according to the considerations of karma kanda, different types of atonement are recommended. Such methods of atonement, however, do not free one from ignorance, which is the root of all sinful life. Which is the root of sinful life. Consequently, one is prone to commit sinful activities even after atonement, which is therefore very inadequate for purification. On the path of speculative knowledge, one becomes free from sinful life by understanding things as they are. Therefore, the acquirement of speculative knowledge is also considered a method of atonement. While performing fruitive activities, one can become free from the actions of sinful life through austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. By awakening knowledge, one may also neutralize sinful reactions. Neither of these methods, however, can free one from the tendency to commit sinful activities. By bhakti yoga, one can completely avoid the tendency for sinful life. Other methods are not very feasible. Therefore, the Vedic literature concludes that devotional service is more important than the methods of karma kanda and jnana kanda. Only the path of devotional service is auspicious for everyone. Fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot independently liberate anyone, but devotional service, independent of karma and jnana, is so potent that one who has fixed his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna is guaranteed not to meet the Yamadutas, order carriers of Yamaraj, even in dreams. To prove the strength of devotional service, Shukadeva Goswami described the history of Ajāmila. Ajāmila was a resident of Kanyakubja, the modern Kannauj. He was trained by his parents to become a perfect Brahmin by studying the Vedas and following the regulative principles. But because of his past, this youthful Brahmin was somehow attracted by a prostitute, and because of her association, he became fallen and abandoned all regulative principles. Ajāmila begot in the womb of 10 sons, the last of whom was called Narayan. At the time of Ajāmila's death, order carriers of Yamaraj came to take him. He loudly called the name of because he was attached to his youngest son. Thus he remembered Narayan. Lord Vishnu. Although he did not chant the holy name of Narayan completely offenselessly, it acted nevertheless. As soon as he chanted the holy name of Narayan, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu immediately appeared on the scene. A discussion ensued between the order carriers of Lord Vishnu and those of Yamaraj, and by hearing that discussion, Ajāmila was liberated. He could then understand the bad effect of fruitive activities and could also understand how exalted is the process of devotional service. Shri Parīkṣit Uvacha. Oh, thank God, there's verses again. That was so difficult reading all that prose. Okay, anyways. nivṛtti-mārga kathā ādā bhagavata yata krama yoga palabdhena brahmanayar asangsriti. Maharaj Parīkṣit said, O my Lord, O Shukadeva Goswami, you have already described in the second canto the path of liberation, nivṛtti-mārga. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, one's repetition of birth and death in the material world ceases. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupada. Since Maharaj Parīkṣit was a Vaishnava, when he heard the description at the end of the fifth canto of the different hellish conditions of life, he was very much concerned with how to liberate the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya and take them back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he reminded his spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, about the nivṛtti-mārga, or path of liberation, which has been described in the second canto. Maharaj Parīkṣit, who at the time of death was fortunate to have met Shukadeva Goswami, inquired from Shukadeva Goswami about the path of liberation at that crucial time. Shukadeva Goswami very much appreciated his question and congratulated him by saying, Virayan esha te prashna krito loka hitam nirpa atmavit samata pungsam shotaya dishu yat para. That's from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2:11. My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial for all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Parīkṣit Maharaj was astonished that the living entities in the conditional stage do not accept the path of liberation, devotional service, instead of suffering in so many hellish conditions. This is a symptom of a Vaishnava. Pancha kalpa tarubhyashta kripa sindhu bhyayevacha. A Vaishnava is an ocean of mercy. Paradukha dukhi. He is unhappy because of the unhappiness of others. Therefore, Parīkṣit Maharaj, being compassionate toward the conditioned souls suffering in hellish life, suggested that Shukadeva Goswami continue describing the path of liberation, which he had explained in the beginning of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The word sangsriti is very important in this connection. Sangsriti refers to continuing on the path of birth and death. Asangsriti, on the contrary, refers to nivṛtti-mārga, or the path of liberation, by which one's birth and death cease and gradually progresses to Brahmaloka, unless one is a pure devotee who does not care about going to the higher planetary systems, in which case one immediately returns home, back to Godhead, by executing devotional service. Tyakta deham punarjanma 90, Bhagavad Gita 4:9. Parīkṣit Maharaj, therefore, was very eager to hear from Shukadeva Goswami about the path of liberation for the conditioned soul. According to the opinion of the Acharyas, the word krama yoga palabdhena indicates that by first performing karma yoga and then jnana yoga, and finally coming to the platform of bhakti yoga, one can be liberated. Bhakti yoga, however, is so powerful that it does not depend on karma yoga or jnana yoga. Bhakti yoga itself is so powerful that even an impious man with no assets in karma yoga, or an illiterate with no assets in jnana yoga, can undoubtedly be elevated to the spiritual world if he simply adheres to bhakti yoga. Mam evaishyasi asangshaya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 8:7 that by the process of bhakti yoga, one undoubtedly goes back to Godhead, back home to the spiritual world. Yogis, however, instead of going directly to the spiritual world, sometimes want to see other planetary systems, and therefore they ascend to the planetary system where Lord Brahma lives, as indicated here by the word Brahmana. At the time of dissolution, Lord Brahma, along with all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka, goes directly to the spiritual world. This is confirmed in the Vedas as follows. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratishanchare paryasyante kritatmana pavishyanti parampadam. Because of their exalted position, those who are in Brahmaloka at the time of dissolution go directly back home, back to Godhead, along with Lord Brahma. Pravṛtti-lakshanāścaiva traigunyo vishayo mune yo savalina prakrite gunasarga puna puna. O great sage Shukadeva Goswami, unless the living entity is freed from the infection of the material modes of nature, he receives different types of bodies in which to enjoy or suffer, and according to the body, he is understood to have various inclinations. By following these inclinations, he traverses the path called pravṛtti-mārga, by which one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, as you have already described in the 3rd canto. Purport. As Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 9:25, Yanti deva vrata devan pritrin yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino pimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. Because of the influence of the various modes of nature, the living entities have various tendencies or propensities, and therefore they are qualified to achieve various destinations. As long as one is materially attached, he wants to be elevated to the heavenly planets because of his attraction to the material world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares, however, "Those who worship me, come to me." If one has no information about the Supreme Lord and his abode, one tries to be elevated only to a higher material position. But when one concludes that in this material world there is nothing but repeated birth and death, he tries to return home, back to Godhead. If one attains that destination, he need never return to this material world. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. As Bhagavad Gita 15:6. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19:151, Brahmanda Brahmite kona bhagyavana jeev, Guru Krishna prasade par bhakti lata beach. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. All living entities are rotating throughout the universe, going sometimes up to the higher planetary systems and sometimes down to the lower planets. This is the material disease which is known as pravṛtti-mārga. When one becomes intelligent, he takes to nivṛtti-mārga, the path of liberation, and thus, instead of rotating within this material world, he returns home back to Godhead. This is necessary. adharma lakshananana narakaschanuvarnita manvantarascha vakyata adya swayambhuvo yata. You have also described at the end of the 5th canto the varieties of hellish life that result from impious activities. And you have described in the 4th canto the first manvantar, which was presided over by Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma. Priyavratotana pador vankshastacharitani cha dipavarsha samudradri natyudhyana vanaspatin dharamandala sangstanam bhagalaksanamanata jyotisham vivaranam cha yatedam asrijar vibhu. My dear Lord, you have described the dynasties and characteristics of King Priyavrata and King Uttanapad. The Supreme Personality of Godhead created this material world with various universes, planetary systems, planets, and stars, with varied lands, seas, oceans, mountains, rivers, gardens, and trees, all with different characteristics. These are all divided among this planet Earth, the luminaries in the sky, and the lower planetary systems. You have very clearly described these planets and the living entities who live on them. Purport. Here the words Yatedam Asrijar Vibhu clearly indicate that the Supreme, the Great Almighty Personality of Godhead, created this entire material world with its different varieties of planets, stars, and so forth. Atheists try to conceal the hand of God, which is present in every creation. But they cannot explain how all these creations could come into existence without a competent intelligence and almighty power behind them. Simply to imagine or speculate is a waste of time. In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord says, Aham sarvasva prabhavo, I am the origin of everything. Matta sarvam pravṛtti-mārga, whatever exists in the creation emanates from me. Iti mattva bhajante mam, buddha bhava samanvita. When one fully understands that I create everything by my omnipotence, one becomes firmly situated in devotional service and fully surrenders at my lotus feet. Unfortunately, the unintelligent cannot immediately understand Krishna's supremacy. Nonetheless, if they associate with devotees and read authorized books, they may gradually come to the proper understanding, although this may take many, many births. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Vasudeva, Krishna, is the creator of everything, and his energy is displayed in various ways. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, Canto 7, verses 4-5, a combination of the material energy, Bhumirapya Nalo Vayu, and the spiritual energy, the living entity, exists in every creation. Therefore, the same principle, the combination of the Supreme Spirit and the material senses, is the cause of the cosmic manifestation. Adhuneha mahabhaga yataiva narakan nara nanogra yatanam yitnetyat tanme vyakhyatumarhasi. O greatly fortunate and opulent Shukadeva Goswami, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pains. Beautiful question. Purport. In the 26th chapter of the 5th canto, Shukadeva Goswami has explained that people who commit sinful acts are forced to enter hellish planets and suffer. Now, Maharaj Parīkṣit, being a devotee, is concerned with he's concerned with how this can be stopped. A Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. In other words, he has no personal troubles, but he is very unhappy to see others in trouble. Prahlad Maharaj said, "My Lord, I have no personal problems, for I have learned how to glorify your transcendental qualities and thus enter a trance of ecstasy. I do have a problem, however, for I am simply thinking of these rascals and fools who are busy with Maya Sukh, temporary happiness, without knowledge of devotional service unto you." This is the problem faced by a Vaishnava. Because a Vaishnava fully takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he personally has no problems. But because he is compassionate toward the fallen, conditioned souls, he is always thinking of plans to save them from their hellish life in this body and the next. Parīkṣit Maharaj, therefore, anxiously wanted to know from Shukadeva Goswami how humanity could be saved from gliding down to hell. Shukadeva Goswami had already explained how people enter hellish life, and he could also explain how they could be saved from it. Intelligent men must take advantage of these instructions. Unfortunately, however, the entire world is lacking Krishna consciousness, and therefore, people are suffering from the grossest ignorance and do not even believe in a life after this one. To convince them that their next life is very difficult because they have become almost mad in their pursuit of material. Oh God, I read that wrong. That's a long sentence. Sorry. To convince them of their next life is very difficult because they have become almost mad in their pursuit of material enjoyment. Sorry about that. Nevertheless, our duty, the duty of all sane men, is to save them. Maharaj Parīkṣit is the representative of one who can save them. So we'll hear the answer to Parīkṣit Maharaj's question tomorrow. I just want to see. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go over a little bit of what we're going to read in the 6th canto. Just because we have a few minutes left. So this is the 6th canto at a glance. So part A is Ajāmila. And that will we will read about that in the next 3 chapters. And then part B1 is the subsequent creation through the daughters of Daksha. Okay, so we're continuing on with the genealogy. Is that what you say? Genealogy? Yeah. So Daksha. And then after Indra and Vishwarup, we hear that whole story with how Indra, being puffed up, failed to respect Brihaspati, and eventually the demigods lost their opulences. Brahma chastised them and instructed them to accept Vishwarup as their guru. Vishwarup taught Indra the Narayan Kavacha hymn that made him regain his opulences. However, seeing Vishwarup secretly offering oblations to the demons, Indra beheaded them. Then comes the story of Vritrasura. Touched to perform a sacrifice to kill Indra. Vritrasura appeared from it and attacked the demigods, who immediately offered prayers to the Lord. The Lord directed them to beg for the body of Dadichi. Vishvakarma manufactured a thunderbolt from Dadichi's bones. The demigods attacked the demons. The demons fled. Vritrasura chastised the fleeing demons and also the demigods who were attacking them from behind. Vritrasura fought alone with the demigods. He chastised and instructed Indra and offered exemplary prayers to the Lord on the battlefield. Those prayers are said to be like one of the most important prayers in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I mean, of course, there's the verses in the 10th canto and stuff, but it says that. Oh God, I have to find. I'll find it. There's 2 verses from I can't remember where, maybe Padma Purana or something, that says that. It says that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Anyways, I'll find it and I'll let you know. Anyways, then Indra was discouraged when he dropped the thunderbolt and Vritrasura enlightened him. Indra praised Vritrasura and later killed him. He thus suffered the sinful reaction for some time and was finally reinstated in his position. All right, so that is that story. Indra and Vishwarup, and then Vitrasura. And then after that is Chitraketu. And this is all going through the subsequent creation through the daughters of Daksha. That's how these all come up. Then Diti and Indra. What's Diti and Indra, this one? Let me see. Diti was aggrieved due to her son's death because of Indra and served Kashyapa to get a son who could kill Indra. Kashyapa instructed her in the Pungsana vow, making a mistake in her execution. Indra entered her womb and cut her embryo into 49 pieces, from which the Maruts were born. They were later accepted as demigods by Indra. Oh my God. Oops. And that's the 6th canto. All right, so the 6th canto has those, I guess, mainly 3 stories, right? Ajāmila. There's this, the Daksha. Okay, so maybe 4. Then this Indra, Vishwarup, Vitrasura story. Then Chitraketu, and then this last part of Diti and Indra, which seems like it's pretty short. Only 2 chapters. Yeah, so the 6th canto is not very long. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Baladeva Prabhu, Baladeva Prabhu, Baladeva, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Pradyumna Prabhu already misses the 5th canto. Even before we started reading, he said that. Oh, okay. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudeva ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashmar Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gurudeva Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shri Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunna Shama Kunna ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri what do you say? Rohini Nandan Baladeva Prabhu ki jai. Revati Raman Baladeva Prabhu ki jai. Shri Shankarshan ki jai. Shri Haladar ki jai. Shri Baladev Purnima ki jai. Baladev Prabhu Janma Titi Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Shri what else? Shri Chatur Mas Vrat ki jai. Chatur Mas Tvitiya Mas ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. Oh, Dandavat pranams. Nri Hari Prabhu. Harivo. Jai Shri Balaram. Harivo. So, as I mentioned before, right now it's 8:03. Possibly, I'm not 100% guaranteeing, but I think I'm going to try to come back on in 12 hours from now to read more about Baladeva Prabhu. We'll see how productive my day is if I get my work done. But yeah, if I have time, then I will come back on at 12 hours. All right. Jai Shri Radhe Haribo. Thanks for joining me. Dandavat pranams, everybody.